Number 10. I wasn't happy with the school uniform that hung on the wall. Its fabric was brand new and stiff, visibly heavy and tight. I was in my new room, which was still stacked with cardboard boxes from the move. I forced myself into the uniform as if it were some sort of punishment. I didn't want to put on my shoes. I couldn't stand the thought of stepping outside. I knew that once I arrived at school, the entrance ceremony would begin and I would be trapped there. I clung to the empty hope that if I just stayed in my room, a miracle might happen, that everything would work itself out. But I couldn't withstand the overpowering tide of reality. The sheer force of the situation was slowly pulling me in. In my uncomfortable new uniform, I put on my shoes, as heavy as weights, and started towards my new junior high. Even my mother's send-off felt nothing but phony to me. I headed down the road in low spirits. The private homes soon disappeared and I found myself on a path flanked by unflooded rice paddies. When I lifted my head, they stretched far into the distance. Further beyond were scattered dark groves. Where on earth am I wondered, not for the first time. I knew where I was in physical terms, of course. I just couldn't believe I was there. I took small, dejected steps down the path between the rice paddies. I knew if I kept walking, I would inevitably draw closer to reality. I began to see the overhead wires of the Lokolyomo line that ran right next to the fields. The platform at Uwafune Station came into view. A mountain of reddish stone towered directly behind the station. Although it wasn't much in terms of height, the steep mountain looked enormous, jutting out from the flat plain. It was called Iwafune, or Rock Ship Mountain, because of its likeness to a boat. Iwafune Station sat at the foot of the mountain. The area around Iwafune Station was called the town of Iwafune. It was all too simple, so straightforward that it seemed unnatural. Hey Aggie, and hey Al. Using my brand new computer pass, I went through the ticket gates at the station and walked onto the concrete platform. Every bit of the unfamiliar routine unsettled and ruffled me. The texture of my ticket holder pointed edges in my hand made me feel unbelievably nervous. When I stood on the platform, I had a panoramic view of the rice paddies I had just passed. Since there weren't any tall buildings, the sky looked massive. A green and orange train pulled in from my right. The Ryoma line, a small railroad that connects two regional prefectures, Tochigi and Gunma. I was taking the train to a public junior high in Oyama City, Tochigi. The automatic doors opened and I boarded. Even though it was rush hour, there were barely any passengers. I was a little shocked. There were so few advertisements in a carriage, it almost felt lonely. I sat in my empty booth, it all felt so wrong. Hey Sofu. Yeah, we're just like a 2 pages in. And hey OG. Clear my throat. Whatever, nasty. Have a good one. Take care. The train wheels rolled over the tracks rhythmically. Why am I? Why am I? The words echoed in my head, for some reason tapering out there. A standing sign bordered with paper flowers was propped against the front gate. Written on it were the words, "Opening Ceremony." I went through the gates. I sat with my eyes downcast throughout the ceremony. I went to my assigned class. I sat in my assigned seat. The boys and girls raised their shrill voices and made an awful fuss. Somehow, being around unfamiliar, overexcited students completely wore me out. The rapid happenings around me felt unreal, like an illusion. The teacher opened the sliding door and entered the classroom. My vision was blurry. The teacher was speaking, but I had no idea what about. The students introduced themselves one by one, a menacing feeling closed in on me, and I almost panicked. Compelled by some unknown force, I abruptly stood up. I only noticed it was my turn to speak after I stood. I heard someone giggle and felt like running away. For the first time, I glanced around the room. I was the only one standing. Everyone else was seated. The height difference made me dizzy. Felt like I was going to fall. My classmates, some of them, going so far as to twist their bodies, stared at me. Their focused gaze were as sharp as needles. I stopped breathing, my heart tightened. I was unbelievably terrified. This wasn't just being scared. Gravity seemed to be squeezing me from both sides, as if to wring every last ounce of fluid from my body. I felt suffocated. I couldn't move. The room began to spin. Unconsciously, I hoped that someone would say something to me. Someone did say something. It was a dirty joke. The class roared with laughter. Yeah, get out of here, OG. Ah, yes, I remember very well. This was me. This was me when I was alone. I can't recall if the cherry blossoms were in bloom. 9. It was late February of 6th grade when the fact that I passed the private school entrance exam ceased to mean anything. Both Takaki and I had aced the test. We weren't the type to fail something so important. We had taken our acceptance letters in our hands and bumped fists like bullies. It was going to be our first experience traveling to an unknown place, just the two of us. It felt nice, to me, to see myself so excited for once. Having a hand to hold and going somewhere new was a happy development. I hadn't known. I would take in each little detail, the pristine school uniforms, the untraveled route, unfamiliar, daunting gates, wandering in the back of my mind, all the while how he was receiving them. We would quietly face each other to confirm them. It was fun imagining our beautiful future together. Your father's being transferred back to Tochigi. My mother, in the middle of a household chore, casually dropped this bomb on me when I came home from school and put down my backpack. What? Unable to process her words, I mindlessly watched her patter down the hallway in her slippers. A dreadful feeling came over me, and I hurried after her. Does that mean this will be the last time? I promise. Your father had been requesting to return to Tochigi headquarters for quite a while now. The decision was made today. He sounded really happy on the phone, even though he has more opportunities at the Tokyo branch. Okay, he said it's about time we settle down, you know, the place where your father grew up, that we put for rent. It happens to be empty right now, right? I should have it cleaned before the move. What was she talking about? But I passed the private school entrance exam, I got in. Ah, yes. My mother stopped in place, put her hand to her cheek, and looked at me with a troubled expression. What should we do? It was the face she made when she pretended to listen to my opinion while making sure that things eventually went her way. Hey, Spicy. Yeah, just reading. RL reading. The topic came up a few more times at home. My parents' decision was clear. And sure, I might as well not have taken the exam at all. They would be sending me to a public school in Tochigi. The elementary school, me, just couldn't accept the nonsense for what it was. I tried convincing them in any way I could, but no turn of phrase can reach people who have made up their minds from the start. They turned the tables on me and asked why I was so set on that particular school. I couldn't come up with an answer. I had never told my parents about my special connection with Takagi. Cracking my finger. It was too important to bring up to them. I didn't want anything to interfere with our relationship. Would things have turned out different if I had told them about us? I don't think so. The end result would have been the same. Parents are loath to let go of their kids for the 6 years of their secondary schooling. While I understand now, it seemed utterly absurd to the young girl I was at the time. My head swelled with head-splitting pressure as if I had a fever. I couldn't believe it was happening. Yet, there was my reality, right in front of me. My mother's face went in and out of focus. The walls of some dead seemed to bear down on me. The image of a closed crossing gate, the side of the train, a wall rushing from left to right, blocked. I got sick and had to stay home from school as I suffered from pressure headaches. I wanted to become so feeble that I couldn't move anymore. My vision was blurred, my skin was numb. I didn't want to think of or feel a thing. I didn't want to confront anything. I just lay in bed and closed my eyes, shutting out all incoming information. I kept at it for as long as I could, but a sense of resignation slowly washed over me. It had quietly crept in from out of nowhere and soaked into me through my extremities. It rendered my body powerless and took complete control, perhaps. No matter what I tried to do, nothing would change. No matter how I felt, I would be taken to Tochigi by force. I finally understood. The understanding came to me in the form of an image. Pronounced guilty, I was being hauled off to jail. Ooh, okay. The moment I accepted my fate, I panicked. Takagi. How could I face Takagi? I feel bad. I feel bad too. It sucks. The situation kind of sucks. I wonder how. Yeah. It's kind of weird. Cause little me, in like, what was it, 5th grade, 4th grade? I couldn't imagine myself being like a deep connection with anyone, or being in such a deep connection with someone that moving away would. Actually, no, maybe my childhood best friend. Yeah. Maybe it would have affected me a similar way. I would be very angry. Who knows? Disintegrate? Nice one, Eki. As if I'd had a revelation, I realized I couldn't keep hiding this from Takagi. It was impossible. I couldn't hide it even if I tried. If I did try, I would disintegrate from the inside out. That's why you said disintegrate, huh? Then I remembered something else. If I kept staying home from school, Takagi would probably try to call me. The idea scared me beyond belief. The more time passed, the more I felt like I was being subject to some mysterious punishment. Not being allowed to stay in Tokyo really resembled my mental picture of being thrown into jail. The image swelled endlessly larger in my head. If I was being punished, I must have committed a crime. I was being punished because I was twisted and vile. I was a bad person, that's how I took it. After all, hadn't I always been treated as such? Right, I was a warped, messed up person whom everyone thought was a joke, and I had merely forgotten that for a while. I had to tell Takagi. I couldn't let him know on his own how wrong I was. I mean, if he found out I was trying to hide such a thing, he would absolutely despise me. I had to complete to Takagi. Yo, I don't think the book really revealed this at all. Like, the girl didn't really seem super like guilty or very distraught of anything in the movie. I don't remember at least. I actually feel bad for her. I didn't feel that bad for her in the movie and manga. I was like, well, life happens. But it's been a while. I snuck out of bed and changed into my street clothes as quietly as I could. I also put on an overcoat that had a fur hood. My forehead burned against my hand. It was already the middle of the night. I silently went out the front door. It was frigid outside, and I began to freeze from the feet up. I staggered towards the main road. I was looking for a telephone booth. I was searching for one because I wasn't allowed to use the home phone at night, and also because I didn't want to talk to Takagi while my parents were close by. I rarely use phone booths, so I wasn't too sure where I could find one. I walked around relying on vague memories. Finally, I found a lighted phone booth next to a bus stop on the national highway. The sidewalk was empty. Cars leisurely came and went. It felt like the overpass above my head was going to fall down and crush me. Entered the phone booth, inserted my telephone card, I pressed the numbers on a keypad. I needed courage to press them. Last booth shooed me from the window, but it wasn't warm. I exhaled a white cloud that drifted off. I listened to the calling trill. Every now and then, the passing cars almost drowned out the sound. Someone picked up. It was Takagi's mother. Hello? This is Akari Shinohara. Could I, please speak with Takagi? I was probably talking too fast. I imagine I was nervously fiddling with the cord out of habit. Bad RNG. True. The bold music fanned my anxiety for no reason. You're changing schools? Takagi's tone, as calm as ever, made me uneasy that day. What about West Middle School? You worked so hard to get in. It sounded like he had slumped on the floor. I could tell that he knew something was wrong. I clung to the receiver as if I were hugging myself. My parents are filing the paperwork for a public school in Tochigi. I'm sorry. No, you don't have to apologize, Akari. The growing seriousness in his voice was too painful for me to beat. I told my parents that I wanted to go to school from my aunt's house in Katsushika here in Tokyo. My voice grew moist. There was a lump in my throat, welling up. I couldn't stop it. Takagi. His name echoed louder and louder in me. They told me not until I'm older. My words lingering in the air shook me. I started sobbing uncontrollably. Water poured from my eyes. My feet felt it trickling onto my shoes. I was crying. I hadn't seen it coming. Why did my body always react before my emotions could catch up? My chest convulsed with gasping breaths. Convulsed with gasping breaths. I tried to dam the flowing tears, but I couldn't. I get it. Takagi's voice sounded sharp through the phone. I've heard enough. My breath stopped at the unexpectedly chilly way he'd put it. My body always reacted first. There was a time lag. If my heart were a thing, I would have heard the eerie sound of it breaking. That's enough, said the receiver, in Takagi's strained voice. There was a deafening ringing in my head. My eardrums went hot and felt like they were going to burst. My head bowed on of its own accord. I was splitting into fragments of myself. There was my thinking self, my feeling self, and my body, which reacted independently from those selves. And also me, who saw everything from an objective point of view. Each of my cells reacted differently. They digested Takagi's voice, his irritated voice, which sounded angry. The sharp sound of it frightened me. My various cells merged into that fear. I was scared of Takagi and had never heard him use that tone before, and he had directed it at me. I felt my blood churning. A truck zoomed by on my immediate right, slamming the glass booth with the wind it's created. Every passing car almost knocked me over. His force too overwhelming. I tried to say I'm sorry, but the words stuck in my throat and I wouldn't come out. Through the receiver, which was pressed painfully right against my ear, I could hear Takagi breathing, but the passing car blotted it out. When I hung up, the metallic sound that it made clawed at the back of my throat. I clasped my hands together and realized that they were shaking. I'm scared. I'm really scared. Where was I directing those words? What should I have done with those feelings? Who should I have told I was scared? I was all alone in a phone booth at night. Dang, this is so much more dramatic than the movie. The movie was like very calm and relaxing and just, in my opinion, a very chill experience. It didn't feel dramatic at all. This feels way more sad and intense. Yeah, that's how I felt, Fade. This one seems so sad. After that, it was awkward for a full month every time we met face to face, and then we had our elementary school graduation ceremony. Once the ceremony, homeroom, and the rest wrapped up, Takagi and I had a brief conversation. We were standing in the hallway, afternoon sunlight glistened off the polished floor. He was wearing a blazer, which he rarely did, but I couldn't find the words to talk about it. Unable to speak for a time, I meaninglessly moved my foot around. Well, I guess this, I said, forcing a smile, is goodbye. I remember how dreadfully heavy the bun in my hair felt. Judging by the way he averted his eyes, I could tell that he still hadn't forgiven me. I don't know this word. The rakuas? Voices of boys sword fighting with their diplomas cardboard tubes came from the classroom. I know what it means, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, it is awful. I do like it, but not gonna lie, in the beginning, they seem way too mature for 4th graders. I found annoying. I don't know if the cherry blossoms were in bloom. I kept my head bowed so I wouldn't see anything as I headed home. My steps grew smaller and smaller and less less sure. Once I was by myself and with no one around, I buried my face in my hands. I was alone again. Like Rakus? Rakus? Rakus voices? Or... Think so? Alright, let's check. We'll read this first. I didn't have anyone. There was somewhere I longed to go. Why wouldn't they let me? Always forced to move against my will. I wish time would freeze over. I don't want any cherry blossoms to bloom. Dang, 10 pages in like 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Really shot. Yeah, so cool. It would be very wishful if they could get together in the end, but we know how it happens in the movie. This pace. What, reading speed run?
Rakus.
That was so loud. Rakus. Rakus. Yeah, that was pretty close. Or that was it, yeah, Rakus. Rakus. No, sure. I'm just gonna stretch a bit. Chat with chat if there's anyone in chat. Yo, reading this, it was very comfy and cozy. I'm chilling right now. Very chilling. You plan on streaming It Takes Two this weekend, Mofu? Yep. Good luck with that. Hopefully me and Blue can finish it in like a week. Mofu, no! That's bad RNG. Oh wait, hold on. I need a BRB for a bit. BRB. I'll be back soon. Alright, I'm back. Let's recap. Alright, I'll practice your reading now. You just drink some water. Hey Jay. Or Piggy, it's been a while. Wait, so chill. Hello, Senpai Rai? Senpai Rai? Is it chill? Yeah, cause we're... Well, today is especially chill, cause... Or at least I tried every Thursday to do a reading stream. But hello, welcome. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are on this planet. Oh yeah, cause oh yeah, I saw the VTuber tag, don't I? My bad. No VTuber today, or PNG tuber. Yeah, we're reading at 5 centimeters per second, one more side. Our last book that we read was Weathering with You, also by Makoto Shinkai and Arata Kano. We're all weebs here. Alright, let's get back into it. As a heads up, it's 5 centimeters per second is a movie by Makoto Shinkai called 5 centimeters per second, about our childhood friends who were separated due to some circumstances, because the female lead's parents, due to work, had to be separated, and how long distance relationships kind of fall for them. Oh, you have? That's good, senpai. So this is called One More Side. So this is not exactly like the movie. It is basically the movie, but in the perspective of the female lead. And really, we're just to the point where they just graduated from elementary school, and it just goes to, so far it just talks about how much anxiety and distress the female lead has been feeling due to having to move. And when she finally moves to a place and meets a boy that she likes, or makes a relationship, I guess, and then she's told to move again, it just shows like her thought process of that. And yeah. Oh, that's so cool, senpai. Yeah. It's strange calling you senpai, as if you're like my senior. Yeah, I have this book, Your Name, Earthbound, which is I believe, which is like an epilogue of the movie and talks about the other characters. And I have a Weathering with You. Call me Rai? I'll call you Rai. Rye bread? Alright, let's continue reading. Now again, how this goes, I read, but every so often, like every page or every paragraph or a good stopping point, I read chat. Gotta avoid getting super DMCA because I can't just be an audiobook. Alright. I flipped off the switch to my thoughts and emotions, became a lifeless machine and moved away. After the movers loaded our belongings into a truck and drove away, my family and I boarded a train at Shinjuku Station. We rode the Saikyo line to Omiya. After that, we transferred to the Utsunomiya line, then to the Ryomo line at Oyama. The frequent stops and endless rides forced me to realize how far we were going. I gazed out the window and watched the cityscape morph into clusters of houses. Fields then appeared between them. Before long, the houses became scarce and tapered off into farmlands. We suddenly came close enough to the mountains that I could see the details of their surfaces as well as the ridgeline. The landscape was changing little by little, and something like an itchy lump trembled and intensified in my chest, and I felt wistful. When I first got to Tokyo, I was so uncomfortable. Even in the lovely residential area from Setagaya to Yoyogi, Yet before long, I had grown accustomed to it and felt completely at peace. My breath became short and shallow again. I looked down. I wanted to cry because I knew it would make me feel a bit better. For some reason, though, I couldn't anymore. The tears wouldn't come. The only constant sensation were my nausea and trembling arms. When I stepped out onto the seemingly desolate platform at Iwahune Station in Tochigi Prefecture, my skin tightened in the chilly wind. Out-of-season snow, which had fallen just a few days prior, clung translucent to the shadows on the platform. Oh, and just to remind everyone where we're at now. So they just graduated from elementary school, and now Akari, that's her name, right? I forgot her name already. Is now moving away. So this part is going to be, I guess, much more different than the movie, because we never really get to see the female lead's life after the separation. It was really only the perspective of the male lead. But this is going to be new to me, or very new to me. The other side of the world, I come to a world without Takagi. I don't have much to say about my days in junior high. To avoid direct contact with anything, I cautiously quieted my breath and waited for the time to pass by. I built an invisible wall around myself and tried not to let anything beyond it affect me. On the surface, it must have seemed like I spent my days in peace. I began to grasp the importance of somehow making myself appear that way. Still, although I seemed unaffected, some strange thing always danced in my chest. It grew fine, tiny. Cilia? I assume that's a flower that ceaselessly attacked my lungs. Oh, I don't think that's a flower. I will search it up in a bit. At times, it burst into awful jigs that made me want to give up. Oh, sorry about that sound. Hold on, let me search this up. It's a short, microscopic, hair-like vibrating structure found in large numbers on the surface of a certain cell. Or certain cells. Wow. I think it is pronounced Cilia. Relatable low-key. Yo, when I get nervous, I just shake a lot. I tremble. Oh shoot, Rive, you're still there? Thank you for the follow, I'm sorry. I have alerts turned off because... Oh, usually for my reading streams, I have all alerts turned off and no raids and no channel redeems. So I actually have to look at the feed every so often. Imagine getting nervous? Alright, let's continue. I always stayed alert and listened to my surroundings. I became sensitive to the sound of laughter. I lived waiting for the safe passage of time. It also depressed me to see that boys were looking at me in a certain way that they clearly hadn't in elementary school. My mother told me I had to play a team sport, so I reluctantly decided to join the basketball club. It was something I never should have done. I despise the pressures unique to extracurricular activities, like the unspoken rules that come into being. yeah, that's what, yeah. Take care, right? And try to sleep away. A lot of people do that on the stream here and there. Is a resident sleeper through my streams, but this is definitely one of my more calm streams. Yeah. This weekend it's not gonna be that calm. But usually my reading streams are very calm. Or chill. I like the unspoken rules that come into being. However, I was too weak to fight back and just had to tough it out. I think this mental block gradually isolated me from my peers. I did everything I could to turn off my emotions, but those were certain things I couldn't help but take to heart. There were certain things. It's not right to call someone over with a whistle, but why didn't anyone recognize that at school? Why were certain things overlooked when they would make you angry out anywhere else? Hitting a person is a crime that the police might investigate. No, so why did the cases go cold? Why was everyone so blatantly nasty and vulgar? I thought that every one of those things was wrong. Why couldn't I say it? The words couldn't come out. If I could, I want to loose an arrow into it, and a sharp one too. No, it didn't even have to be words. I just wanted to express how I felt. There were so many things they blindly accepted. Why could I tell them that all seemed strange to me? I felt like once upon a time I had thrown it all back at them with a mere sigh, a flick of my eye. I probably couldn't do it alone though. You need to fight fire with fire. You need to have your own world to fight the world, but you can't create them all alone. Oh, enough of their nastiness. I wanted something beautiful. I wanted to connect with a beautiful heart. I seriously, earnestly, desperately clung to that childish desire. Oh, that's alright. I guess the streams I frequent too aren't what I would call chill either. They're all pretty sus. But I'm pretty sus myself, to be fair. And hey Mona, I was reading tonight. Alright. Now about this. Just talking about how in school, some things are just... I think they're just talking about how in school they let things go because, you know, kids will be kids, boys will be boys. And, I don't know how I feel about that. It doesn't really particularly annoy me. Because I do agree with that, you know, we're just kids. we're just naughty like that. Or we can be naughty like that. Because we just don't know any better. I know there is a point in time where it's not okay anymore. There you go, things are being honest, Mofo. Oh, I almost smack you, Mofo. Yeah, have a good one, Aki. Thanks for dropping by. During those days, I think I developed a habit of talking to Takagi in my head. I could only confess my true feelings, which I suppressed and hid from the outside world, to the imaginary Takagi. I told him this, I told him that, I told him how I felt. I confided in them using only the simplest, most honest words. The Takagi in me would nod and say, yes, I agree. Though he never gave any specific advice, just imagining him listening and sharing my pain made my life a lot easier. It was as if exactly half of my suffering disappeared. Oh, that's so Mona. Hey, fall asleep if you need to. Well into the second semester of my first year at junior high, I finally put my thoughts into action and wrote Takagi a letter. For some reason, for a very long time, I hadn't thought to reach out to him. On the day of our graduation ceremony, I had said, well, I guess it's goodbye. I truly believe it was a final farewell. That's essentially what it meant to change schools. When you transfer, your previous relationship ends. Having experienced it several times, I just figured it was going to happen again. But there was another reason I couldn't contacted him. I was scared. I was convinced he was still mad at me. I didn't want to face the facts. Giving him a call was out of the question. I was scared of talking to Takagi on the phone without seeing his face. His rejecting tone from that wintry night still throbbed like a thorn in my heart. I had dealt with a very painful chain of events in September. I don't plan on describing them here. I flipped off the switch to my agony and went to school. The decision to feel nothing was an effective way to cope with reality. It seemed I frequently made mistakes traveling familiar routes, or found myself slumping over and leaning against something in the oddest places. Once I think I even missed my station by a long shot on my way to school. I use words like seem and think. It's all just a blur to me. One morning I randomly vomited on the way to school. I finally admitted just how I didn't want to go. how much I did not want to go. Every time my body involuntarily purged itself, I stayed home from school. Calling out sick didn't mean life would get easier for me. I was painfully aware that staying home was temporary escape. From now, I still think about how grand it would have been if I just escaped from it all. But realistically, I couldn't keep calling out sick. My parents and teachers would never allow it. Escaping from the horrors for just 1 or 2 days was in fact only tiring. It got harder and harder to just turn off the switch. Whenever I forced myself onto the train to school, I hated how I could feel myself slowly getting closer to it. I tried my best to think about things that made me happy. I thought about Takagi. In the early mornings, when there was only 1 or 2 other passengers on the countryside train, I comforted myself by filling the spacious carriage with gentle thoughts. I could feel his aura infusing it. I conveyed hundreds of unspoken things to him. It was on one such day, sitting alone in the booth, I took the stationery paper that I used as a diary out of my bag and finding the light pouring in through the window a little too bright, started writing a letter to Takagi. I believe another version of myself in me was looking on in utter surprise. So while working, it is chill, or listens while working, it is chill. Glad to hear that, Aki. Dear Takaki Tono, it's been a while since we last met. My pen effortlessly glided across the paper. Then, the surprised self in me almost seamlessly merged with the self that continued to write. Unconsciously, I think I always knew that I would write to him someday. The summer here is hot, but still much milder than Tokyo's. Though now that I think back on it, I like Tokyo's humid summers too. The melting hot asphalt, the far-off skyscrapers shimmering in the heat, the frigid air conditioning in the department stores and subways. As I watched my hand compose those indented lines, I retrieved my memories of the light blue sky hanging over the swaying buildings of central Tokyo. It's already been half a year since we last met at our elementary school graduation ceremony. I counted down my finger and realized that it had only been months. It felt like we hadn't met in years though, and the pit of my stomach tightened. Hey, Takaki, do you remember me? Did he? Maybe I've forgotten. We were transfer students after all. It was second nature to forget where we had been in order to integrate into where we were now. Although I felt scared, I decided to seal the letter. Knowing that I couldn't rewrite or reread it made me suddenly nervous. Even when I stuck my hand into the mailbox ready to drop off the letter, I hesitated for a time. Closed my eyes when I let it go. 4 days later, a reply came in the mail. When I found it in the mailbox, my heart almost stopped. It was fast. I was happy that he had responded so quickly. That alone was enough. I had opened our mailbox on the way home from school, but instead of proceeding through the door, I made a sharp right turn towards the plains beyond our community. I held the envelope typed to my chest and hurried down the path between the rice paddies. I then came across a barely cultivated patch. I didn't know where it was, but it looked like the crops were only for private consumption. The plot was slightly raised in the center. And on the raised area stood a glorious cherry tree. Of course, it wasn't conveniently in bloom. It was a hardy cherry tree that would have gained a bit of fame if it were on public land. Its branches twisted and spread across the sky, and its enormous roots clutched the earth in every direction. Reaching out, they seemed connected to a faraway world. I adored that tree. I sat on one of the roots of the cherry tree and read Takaki's letter over and over again. I was surprised to see how much pressure he had put on his pencil. His handwriting was boyish and strong, a bit meticulous too. Having seen his notebook scribbles, I could tell he had taken care this time. Was it the 6-month gap? Maybe his penmanship had improved a bit since starting junior high. The formal tone of his letter made me feel a bit bashful. He must have felt bashful when he was writing it, too. I could just picture it. Letters are weird. If you write in the way that you normally speak, it doesn't come out right. You tend to put on airs and become a bit stiff. I had only written about current events in my letter, so his reply contained much of the same. I had dispatched my words ever so gently, and he had returned his just as gently. For me, That was crucial. It was important that he didn't use strong words. I didn't want to endure them anymore. I somehow ended up losing all his letters, so I couldn't reproduce exactly what it said. And still, summoned, however, the impression it left on me. Takagi's words were clean, they always had been. He hadn't changed a bit in the past 6 months, I thought. I read his letters so many times that I actually lost count. I ran my eyes again and again over the quiet series of sentences that simplified details of recent happenings in his life. I traced over the fields of his heart with my fingertips, as if it were braille, or at least that was how I imagined in my head. Takagi had wanted to talk to me since then. That was incredibly reassuring. There were scenes in old foreign dramas when a young girl, so moved by a letter she had received, hugs it tight to her chest. She's exaggerating. That reaction is real. I found out that people actually behave that way in life. I wanted the stationery to melt and soak into my heart. Their thumb looks very bent. I think it's normal. Or curved. I mean, when I do this, I don't know how you're looking at it, Ichiro, but it does kind of look like that, but I guess it is when because I like point like a gun. Yeah. Hey little G, hope we're doing well. Yep. Arc thumb, is that how it is? It's definitely arc, but it probably looks more arc because the camera is not exactly it's not exactly straight. Because the camera looks straight down, this is kind of me pointing down. Oh no, it's kind of hard to see. But if the camera points down, you'll be able to see or straight down, you'll be able to see the tripod that I'm using to prop it up. So I make the camera a bit slanted, so it might give off that effect. Fingernail check, yeah, it's pretty long. But yeah, hey Itra, and Logi. Alright. That was the start of our sporadic correspondence. It was sporadic, because I didn't want it to become like one of those exchange diaries between girls. About once a month, we sent letters to each other about recent events in our lives. Whenever I received a reply, I felt fulfilled knowing that he had been thinking of me. Reading his letters, I had no wonder how he was able to feel as if I did, and it was moving. I could tell that he was suffering too, but that he was doing his best where he was now. He never used insincere phrases like, I get you, to show offhanded sympathy for my tribulations. He just casually told me what was happening in his own life. His compassion was concealed in those accounts. That was how skilled of a writer he was. There was a beauty to him that I hadn't known. He could compose such incredible letters in today's email-dominated world. Missives in longhand are part of a dying culture, but they can really touch your heart. My pores? Dang, are trying to examine me up close, Mofu. Wink wonk. Hey Rai, yeah. Take care, wish you the best. And until next time, if not, that's fine too. It was a pleasure having met you. Bye. Take care. At times, a tingly feeling would start in my chest and move up to my throat. There's something truly affecting about a good letter. Every time I receive a response, I wrote one back. Thank you for replying, made me so happy. The word happy barely even scratched the surface. I couldn't do better in writing. It was a bit frustrating. Takagi was there, in that part of Tokyo, experiencing, feeling, and thinking. God tell Akadi. I was able to confirm that much. That alone made the day surprisingly easier to get through. I wondered why. Why did it feel so nice just to be understood? Thanks for being Joe Vibes. Yeah, thanks for being here, Ryan. Bye. Bye-bye. Dear Takagi, I always write my letters in the morning in an empty train booth. It's already well into autumn. The leaves here are beautiful. The day before yesterday, I brought out my sweater for the first time this year. It's a cute and warm cream-colored sweater I wear over my school uniform. I really like wearing it to school. I wonder how you look in your new uniform. I bet you look so grown up. Recently, I have basketball in the early mornings, so right now I'm writing this letter on the train. Got my haircut the other day. It's so short that my ears poke out. Even if we met, you probably wouldn't recognize me. Reading it over, I was surprised to see that I was subconsciously telling him that I wanted to meet up, but I'm sure you're also changing, little by little, Takagi. Maybe I was a little scared to meet him now that he was in junior high. I received another letter, then I wrote back. I think it went something like this. Dear Takagi, how have you been these past wintry days? It already snowed here a handful of times. Whenever it snows, I go to school bundled in thick layers of clothes. It hasn't snowed yet in Tokyo, right? Even after I moved, I still check Tokyo's weather forecast out of habit. We might meet again soon. While I was a bit afraid it was likely, what sort of expression would I wear then? And what about him? His stiff face and my own trembling cheeks from graduation day were still very much alive in me. I just needed a little more time for them to fade away. That's what I thought. I missed him, but I wanted a bit more time to recover. Until then, I would exchange words with Takagi. I would survive if I had that connection. After winter came and was almost gone, I learned that he would be moving to Tanagashima. Oh. Wait, shit. Stretching. Let. Just reading. I like the chaos. SMH won't for you. Chaotic. Hopeful. Hey Namu, hey Joe, hope you're doing well. About that. You see, I actually am very conscious. So about that chapter, by the way, I feel Akari so much, even now. I am super duper conscious of how people type and how people type or communicate through text. Like through Discord, through Twitch, through whatever. I'm very conscious of it. Like even like I don't want to be conscious of it, but I'm super duper conscious. Like if you type to me with like no emotes, no emojis, and just like full on commas and periods, I'll probably treat you as a very serious person. And I would respond in kind. Oh, Namu, you're not tricking me, Namu. Wait, don't do this to me, guys. You're scaring me. And have your own style, but I'm just very conscious of it. The thing is, when people type like that and they don't change, it's very difficult for me to feel that they are happy or want to talk to me. They feel distant to me when they talk like that. And I feel like it'll be hard for me to get along with them because I myself, I'm not that serious of a person. I can be serious, but I won't be too interested in a person if they're not too, if they're not playful. I'm Jolo, can you see? Oh no. Yeah, that's what I see. Stop the function. Oh, serious person, we're serious, whatever. I even use emojis of oh no. So when people use like emojis, gifs, emotes, exclamation marks, I feel that they actually want to or feel happy talking to me, and it makes me happy too, and I try to respond in kind. But yeah. And to me, I feel like showing your emotions through text is very important to me, for me. But not saying you have to. I mean, if you don't, then that's just who you are. But it just means that I probably can't really get along with you as well. Yeah, Aki, yeah, Maximo. I'm sorry, I need to use punctuations. That's hard cap. Ayo, oh no. But now use It was because if you didn't know me, my message would be so God dang it, so food. But yeah. It's like saying, it's like let's say someone does something, sus in chat, and you delete their message. But after I delete their message, I'm like, oh, it's fine. You're good. I can say you're good, period, or I can say, oh, you're good with a smiley face. As in, like, there's no problem with you. But if I say you're good in a period, it sounds, you sound very like rigid. If that makes sense. Yeah, that's really true. As though it doesn't know me, CZ, right? God dang it, so cool. $1 million question. You are very loved. Wait, that's quite random, Kermit. I'm not talking in chat. I'm talking to Twitch in general. I'm not talking about anyone in general. I'm just talking about myself in general. When I meet new people. I don't care how you act in my chat. Well, I do, but you just be yourself. I don't really care. It's fine, period. Oh no. Oh, and now when you guys do periods, it scares me. And another thing about the chapter, which remind me, is that you're is that when like messenger apps became popular, they would have like when you read someone's messages, they would know you read them, right? Because it has read on the bottom, like in Snapchat. And on Snapchat, it even notifies you if they're typing. That is so weird and creepy to me. But also, I don't use really messenger apps. I've only really used Discord, so that's just my opinion. I find it so like when I do see that someone I like has read my message and they're typing, it does make me happy. But then there's also like the occasion like, what if you just leave me on red? What if this, so on? I feel like the stress it gives is so unnecessary. Both the stress and adrenaline it gives is not okay. So I'm very thankful that Discord does not have that feature. Don't say that, Wolf. Okay, you're so right, Wolfu. That person scared the heck out of me. Am I good? No comment. Do you feel conscious when someone responds with just yes and no instead of yeah, nah, no. That doesn't matter. Their vocabulary doesn't really matter to me. It's really if they like, as long as they can convey emotion. I mean, you could use vocabulary to convey a certain emotion too, but there's just a lot of ways you can convey emotion through text, and it doesn't have to be through vocabulary. I left my room once and I wasn't ready to leave. Sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry, Soulful. But yeah, I can't handle that. But and like when you do read someone's messages and you don't want to leave it unread, you'd feel a need to respond to them. But some people just want to like read the message and like they respond later. I don't know what's the culture or the social aspects around that kind of feature. Like yes and no. Things are serious. You will read your messages. Oh no, Namu. I think it depends, Nitra. I mean, obviously, I think people who say yes there are more serious people saying yes more than they say like, yeah or yep. But it's not something that's like super significant in my opinion. Like, just one of the many ways you could use to, again, convey your lightheartedness in text. I could be like, yes, all capitalized with exclamation marks. Yes, sister. I don't know. You know, I can be left on red. Also me when they're responding to my text. Oh no, Soulful. I can't tell if Mofu's staring at me or staring at Soulful. I will pretend Mofu is staring at Soulful and not me. Alright. That's my one thing. Ever go left and red after saying something risky? I just go, well, they probably don't like me now. Oh, that's not awful. Whatever. Mofu, shame on you. I'm never like that. But that's because I don't really have... I don't have many people to... I don't really message many people. Or not many people message me either. I think Trashman's really the only one who I actually message pretty frequently. Or where we actually have like ongoing messages here and there. But like my other friends, it's probably like once a month thing. I don't really message. I don't. And also, and Ichira, what was it you said? Ever got left on red? Yeah, I mean sure, but I also haven't used those messages much either. Or I don't use much messenger apps either, so I never really had those kind of experiences. Oh, is that like on our Discord, Soulfu? Oh yeah, especially in the beginning, Ichira, because because you were like a mod or like you're one who made a server, so I usually it's pretty serious. With important. Yeah. I mean, it depends from person to person. Like, I guess if we're close, or if we're closer, for some reason if we're closer, I don't know why we would be closer. DMing like jokes and memes and other stuff might be normal. But otherwise, why don't you just do that in the server instead? Basically, because we're not that close. Maybe, I don't know. Well, if you want to scare me, why do I want to scare you? Oh, if you DM you. All of he sends me are smacking gifs. You broke the contract, Mofu. You can't say that. You can't expose. You can't expose it like that. Now I have to pay the fine, Mofu. Alright, so I'll see you next stream. Hopefully I'm not tired. Thank you for... Yeah, have a great one, Mona. Bye! Maybe rain times. I see. Yeah, tomorrow tomorrow's gonna be a stream it's gonna be a really late stream. Because I'll be watching a movie in Mofu server. How do I scroll this time? Nah, you're good. Cause this goes for everyone, as long as you actually like, if you're not genuine, well, I mean, of course, if you're not genuine in like being toxic to someone, or being toxic, or being inappropriate, and number two, you actually put effort into like taking into consideration what I say and the rules, then you're probably never gonna get banned. But some people just come off as if they don't care what I say, and I just like untime them out, and they do the exact same thing again. Another thing I really don't like when I time out someone to talk to them about the circumstances. They start to compliment me. And it feels weird. They're like, bro, I love your streams. You're such a cool person. And I'm like, huh. We're not talking about that. It's really weird. but some of that happens a lot. I'm gonna be up a good night. Yeah, have a good one, Mona. Bye. I'm some more TikToks. Oi. If I ever get schooled by y'all, I just know I will think about the rest of the life. Just go ahead. The only time I got time, I love it. True. I mean, it's not. I won't call it legitimately. I timed you off as a joke, Itra. It was actually pretty good. It's pretty funny. But I timed you out because I just wanted to play the part of being offended. If I do scold you, usually, I don't know. It's just tough. It just depends. Okay, yes, I was defeated. Hey, Dashing, hello. I should probably get to reading again. Oh my gosh, we're at a horrible pace now because of that ramble. Guy was defeated by Fade? What do you mean Dashing? I got way more kills or wins against Fade today. So you just have to be bad to have a one-on-one with Actually true though. So what happens on Discord server is usually I don't usually ban you right off. Usually if you do unless I barely know you. I know you to an extent. Usually if you keep doing something bad or you do something really bad, I mute you in the server, and then when people are muted, they get access to a private channel where you have a one-on-one talk with me. It's like getting sent to a principal's office, basically. That's what happens on Discord server. I see, Sofo. But you have to do something pretty bad for that to happen. Usually, if it's not that bad, usually I just scold you or I just say something in the actual server, in the public server. I'm not letting you see the new. And one of the reasons why I also disable you guys to see the newly baked bread was so that you wouldn't see my friends who joined the server. That's right, my friends infiltrated the server. Good luck finding who they are. Gonna get myself banned for the 1-1? Oh, you stopped that. Yeah, that was like months ago. Or maybe it was just yesterday that they just joined the server. Who knows? Yes, Trashman has talked in this chat before. I edited it so that it's private, but that was a long while ago, Itra. Oh, shoot. Oh, you mean the private channel? I didn't want you to see it specifically, Itra, even though you're like kind of mod, is because you're not 18. I feel like you shouldn't. I feel like it's a bit more serious, and I think if you were to look at what happens in there is not a good thing. Oh, you meant the baked bread? Yeah. No, everyone can't see it. Wait, can mods see it? I don't think mods can see it either. Cause I didn't want anyone to know, cause who my friends are. I don't think my mods can see it either. So forget out of here. You showcase? What do you mean by showcase Snorlax? I don't have a Snorlax. Oh, we're talking about this. This is my bread. This is not Snorlax. No, we can't. I see. Good. Oh no. Yeah, I was concerned about you. Because I feel like it will provide either unnecessary like drama or like some like I don't know. As well as right, because I feel like it's a bit more serious. I don't know. I thought Snorlax told me no. Oh nope. Dang, wait, this kind of got serious. Yeah. You were there for a while. You were able to see those messages for a while. See me so serious. Will Trashman come and play Apex with him? Hey, ask him, not me. I mean, if the two of us play together, then honestly, anyone in chat can join us. But good luck trying to find his DM or find out how to DM him. Yep. Yeah, good luck trying to slide into it. I'm not telling you how to get his contact information. Is that so true? No. Alright, we should get back. Oh my gosh, we talked. That was a rather serious topic. I'm not reading 50 pages today. This is bad. Unless I do a 3-hour stream. Man, this sucks. You saw that, Fade. I'm not giving anyone Trashman's info. Unless he himself actually wants to. I see her flashbacks. Oh no 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 no. I don't think I've been angry. Have I? Angry. Have I been angry at anyone? Maybe frustrated at most, but I don't think I've ever been angry. Alright, let me let's go through again. But yeah, that's me. I know I joke and I'm very like chill on stream or very very relaxed on stream, but if you do anything, if you like break the rules or well, not even break the rules, if you just do anything that I find uncomfortable and you don't listen or you don't take in consideration of others, then I'll be very serious about it. Outside of that, I'm not a serious person at all. I'm very chill. Alright. I always see Luffy being toxic and mean. But in light of that, I have not actually. I haven't been genuinely toxic. Like I don't think I've really felt the genuine need to insult someone because I hate them. I don't think I have. Alright. You're gonna ask Trashman about that? Wait, shoot. There hasn't been a time. There might have been a time in middle school when I played League of Legends with Trashman. Shoot, don't ask him. It's a mutual thing? Oh no. I can insult y'all a lot, but not on purpose. Oh wait, I mean, it's on purpose, but not like... I don't mean it. It's just for fun. Of course, if y'all are actually... Yeah, if you actually don't like the behavior I display, I mean, I guess you can just leave the stream or just talk about it to me. Then I can give you special treatment by actually treating you seriously. Like, whenever I talk to you, I'll start using periods. And no more emojis and gifs. And I'll make sure not to joke around you, or joke with you. For me it depends. If all my interactions with you... I'm not naming anyone, by the way. If all my interactions with you, like 99% of my interactions with you have just been insults, have just been you insulting me, or then I'll probably just do the same, or I probably won't have a good impression of you. But it's also very understandable because that's how I'm like on stream, and people play around with it, so you do the same too, right? But if I don't see any side of you outside of those insults, then I probably won't. I probably won't treat you any other way. Like here, Dashing, Ichira, Fade, Sofu, Mofu, all of you. I've seen how you are when you're not insulting me, so I know y'all are great people. Y'all are cool. But then there are some that I don't know who they are. You know, I saw nothing? What do you mean? Did anyone redeem friend fee? I'm just chill when I read. As I find a bad mood, I can be toxic. I'm scared of my actions. Is that so? Please be more toxic. Oh, you stop that. I haven't been toxic once. It was deserved. The only thing I'm scared was commitment. I hate commitment. Or I'm not commitment. I'm scared of commitment. That's why I'm scared of the words friend. I'm scared of the word friends. Or saying the word friends. I'm genuinely uncomfortable saying the word friend. But I'm also genuinely trying to change that. On the channel mods, I turn off raids, alerts, and channel points for my reading streams, dashing, because it's more chill. Alright, let's get to reading. I'll still read chap here and there. We're trying to get to page 90. Oh my gosh, we're not getting there today. Oh my gosh, you Troy, you're getting bonked. For me, I'm scared because if I'm really scared. I guess not the commitment part. I'm scared of the fact that I'm gonna be obsessed with over someone again. Like I'm scared I'm gonna go full yonder on someone again. I'm very scared that I'll be very possessive of someone and obsessed with who and what they are and what they do. That's why you might see me build. That's why you might see me not ever initiating anything, because I'm scared. That's not what happened with me and one friend. But we're still friends now, but I mean, again, we don't message each other much, but there's someone I would call a friend, but yeah. Oh no, Ichiro, I've never been in a relationship. Never ever been in a relationship. I don't know what that means, dashing. Oh, I'm talking about friendship. Commitment in friendships. And relationships in general. But I can't imagine myself being in a romantic relationship because again, I'm scared that I'll be obsessed over them. I'm so scared. Because that side of me is so disgusting. I hate that side of me, and I really don't want to see that side of me ever again. I'm surprised that you'll be the one changing schools this time. I wasn't as calm as my words seemed on paper. Since even I felt that way, Takaki couldn't have been either. In writing that his father was being transferred to Tanagashima in Kagoshima Prefecture. I'm pretty sure Tanagashima. Of course, I knew some facts about the island, like how it was where guns were first brought to Japan. I couldn't begin to picture the place though. I hadn't even known that it was part of Kagoshima. And where was that prefecture again? On the southern tip of Kyushu. Wasn't that all the way at the end of Japan? The moment that thought came into my head, I finally realized how far it was. Now I suffer from living? This is probably when you already have. This is probably you already have who emotionally. What the heck? If I ever subconsciously guilt trip someone, that's gonna be the end of me. I feel so bad. Yeah. But hopefully hopefully I can learn how to befriend people and healthfully establish relationships. Maybe. Hopefully. As I wrote those words, I thought they weren't. I know we've gotten used to changing schools a long time ago. Even so, Kagoshima's a bit far away. We won't be at a distance where I can just hop on a train if we wanted to meet. I guess that makes me feel kind of lonely. Takaki, please do take care of yourself. As I wrote those words, I thought that they weren't what I wanted to say at all. Vexation started to kick around inside me. I continued with my reply despite a grainy feeling that reminded me of the white noise on a TV screen. Everything was blurry. The writing pad swayed in and out of focus. Takagi is going to Kagoshima, right? Uh-huh. In my fuzzy mind, the words Takagi is going to Kagoshima kept flashing, but I couldn't figure out what they meant. Then an odd question echoed. Why is he going so far? Why so far that we need to take an airplane to see each other? I had assumed that he and I would always be connected, though at a distance. Somehow I thought so, for no good reason. Given where I was then, I would have known that it wasn't the case. I am in Tochigi, he is in Tokyo. We live so close to each other. Why did I never think of meeting when he's so close by? I haven't seen his face since he started junior high. Why did I let my stupid fears put off something so important? Those are just some of the thoughts that went through my head. My brain was numb and my fingers were out of whack. But the letter that came from my pen was incredibly calm and detached. Those are some bars. I didn't know why. I didn't have a clue. For the following few weeks, I was lost in the daze. It was so cold that year that Tochigi still had snowstorms in late February. In the morning, I would open the front door to find snow on my feet. I'd brush a heap of it off the mailbox, head to the station, go through the ticket gates, and board the train. Feeling the warmth of the heater by my feet in a gently rocking car, I would space out. I like to stick my temple against the chilly window glass. It would be as foggy as the scenery outside. With my head also misty, I would still my breath at school, return home, open the mailbox to make sure it was empty, and then close it again. That was how I spent those days. My teacher's lessons didn't teach me, and I couldn't care less what people around me were saying. Somewhere in my subconscious, I imagined numbers counting down. Takagi was somewhere I could reach if I just extended my hand. But soon I wouldn't be able to no matter how far I stretch. I thought about calling him on the phone a couple of times, but my hand always stopped halfway and never allowed me to pick up the receiver. I was still scared. How would I feel if his first words sounded cold? Plus, if I called him, if we talked on the phone, I might accidentally blurt out something serious. Even at that point, I was trying to avoid what was important. Takagi didn't send a reply for a while. In mid-February, I finally received a response. I read it in my room. Then I stowed it away in a drawer, carefully locking it with a key. The next morning, as I sat on the station bench and waited for my train, I began writing my response over my knees. Guess they're busy? Maybe. Dear Takagi, I am so glad to hear that you're coming to visit on March 4th. It's already been a year since we've last met. I'm a little nervous. In his letter, he had written something like this. The distance between Tochigi and Tanegashima is too great for us. When I move, we might not have the chance to meet for many years. Maybe not even until we've grown up. I had to go see you one last time before then. So, I was wondering if I could take the train to where you are. After school on March 4th, since my parents will be out of town, that day I won't have to worry about coming home late. I hope you can come meet me at the station, even for just a little bit. I had read his letter all at once, taking a deep breath and sighed. Then, I had reread it, over and over like always. I thought to myself once again, that the word happy didn't suffice. Takagi always said why you yearned to hear. Yeah, have a good one, Itra. I knew I had been wishing for those words. Yes, I think I unconsciously hoped he would say them. The only one who understood me had to go far away. It didn't make any sense. But now there was something. My body trembled when I thought about the day we would meet again. I was finally going to see him. I felt a mixture of anxiety and fear. On my stationery, I wrote detailed directions for all the transfers from Shinjuku to Uwafune Station and drew little illustrations all around them. For example, I drew long railroad tracks between Omiya and Oyama and even wrote far above it. Tokyo and Tochigi were indeed so far we could cry. I prayed that the distance and time on the train ride wouldn't be not too terrible for him. That would be as fun as possible, and I told him. Near my house, there's a large cherry tree. In spring, the petals probably fall at 5 centimeters per second too. Bring spring with you, Takagi. My clouded breath drifted away on the wind as I sat on the chilly station bench and wrote my letter. A few scenes played back in my mind. The day I transferred to the elementary school, which now felt so distant. The words, "You are going to be okay." The day we held hands and fled from our classroom, his hand, which felt bony but warm, holding mine. And the day I whispered 5 centimeters per second under the fluttering cherry blossoms. I still remember as clear as day. 5 centimeters per second is special to me. They were the first romantic words I've ever uttered to a boy. Yet, from that moment on, I wanted to hear his voice. I had wanted to hold his hand. I had wanted to feel his body heat, to gaze into his eyes, and connecting as gently and naturally as the movement of a falling petal, as I had wished back at that moment, was no longer possible. Abruptly parting and suddenly reuniting in an unnatural manner was the only option for us. Now, and probably for good, I will never be able to tell him. I hope we can see the cherry blossoms together again next year. I love Takaki Tono. Thank you for coming all the way to my station. It's a long trip, so please be careful. What time is it? It's show 1:41. Hi. I'll be in the waiting area at 7 in the more evening. 5. I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit just to see where this part ends. Okay, we have to read till 90. We have to read to 90. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna speed read. I'm gonna speed read for the next hour or 30 minutes. I don't know. And we're gonna finish this tonight, or not finish the book, finish this section. Gonna go full focus. Just 20 pages, 22 pages. The day of Takaki's visit finally arrived. It was a weekday. I felt restless at school, but a thought occurred to me. When school ended, I rushed home and went into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator. After getting out of school, Takaki wasn't stopping by his house. He was heading straight to Shinjuku Station, and it was going to take him hours to get to Iwafune. He was going to be hungry. When I thought back on this moment many years later, I giggled out of embarrassment. I had acted like the stereotypical girl in love from an old soap opera. The only lunchbox I found at home was a cute, small one for girls, and I wish we had a bigger and sturdier one. In the lunchbox, I packed a rolled omelet, rice balls colored with pretty seasonings, and anything else I thought I could make by myself. I needed multiple tries to arrange the items neatly. If Takagi and I had gone on to the same school, I may have packed him lunches like that all the time. I wrapped the lunchbox in a cloth and carefully placed it in my bag so it wouldn't tilt to one side. For some reason, this simple act made me feel as if my heart were about to burst. The TV tried to warn me of a snowstorm before I left, but I didn't pay much attention. It was after 6 o'clock and pretty dark outside. Tiny snowflakes kept falling. I crossed the front yard and headed to the station. Walking down the straight farm road between rice paddies covered in thin layers of white snow, I felt anxious and harried. I started running. You know how hairy I was going? Yeah, this is like the 6th stream where I showed my hands. Aqua, and I actually showed my hands on Discord like 2 times, I think. Yeah, how's it going, Aqua? I can meet Takagi soon. I can meet Takagi now. The old wooden station building came into view. He might have already arrived. I felt a large lump in the back of my throat. I slid the door open by its aluminum latch and entered. The heat from the pot-belly stove and the steam from the metal wash tub above it gently warmed the room. I felt the stiffness in my frozen cheeks slowly melt away. The waiting area was empty. We had planned to meet at 7, but had arrived much earlier. I perched on a bench by the wall and placed my hands on my knees. If I just waited, he would arrive in no time. The sliding glass door to the platform would open, revealing Takagi. What sort of expression was I supposed to wear? What would he be like after a whole year? At that moment, my heart just might stop. The old, worn-out stove whistled softly and all of the windows were clouded away. It was as if I were in a box that had been cut off from the outside world. Even the station attendant had withdrawn to the confines of his office. I silenced my breath so as to not disturb the quiet of the vacant waiting room. I didn't mind waiting at all. Picturing Takagi on the train, drawing ever closer, made my chest quiver with excitement. Maybe he was sitting on the window side in a booth and looking out in a wintry landscape rarely seen in Tokyo, and feeling the light vibrations on the train. I imagine myself as Takagi and try to feel the vibrations with him. The wheels' steady rhythm as they roll over junctions came to life. For a split second, I had this illusion that I was moving towards Takagi as he waited in place. When 7 drew near, I became fidgety, and my heart pounded foully. I couldn't stop peeking at the round clock on the wall and the ticket gate's glass door. I was glancing at the clock every 15 seconds. Time passed slowly and my body began to sway. The clock's hand pointed to several minutes past 7. No one had came through the door to the platform, not a single person. My fidgety joy turned into a different type of restlessness. I tried peering at the platform through the foggy glass. Just then I realized it had been a while since there had been any signs of incoming trains. I promptly stood up, sped to the ticket window, and called to a station attendant. The reedy, aging gentleman answered me in a kind and measured tone. Right now, there's a very heavy snowstorm, with strong winds, you see, and all the trains have stopped. What? We're checking the tracks and the trains in front have to go first. There had been an accident otherwise, you see. They're stopping and going at stations and along the tracks and moving slowly. You know how late the 7 o'clock train will be? When should it arrive? I can't really say. I'm not getting much information either. Very sorry about that. I weakly made my way back to the edge of the bench. I watched my fingers clutch my knees. Even after I'd been told that the train was late, I couldn't keep my eyes off the clock. My lips were pursed. I stayed frozen in place. Time slowed to a crawl. I tried to stop glancing at the clock. I felt like not looking at it made the minutes go by faster. The white noise of the stove and the water boiling above it was grating. That's how silent the room was. When the window station creaked, or perhaps at some sound from beyond the ticket window, the back of my neck and my ears would twitch. Straining to get a better listen, yes, you'll learn that it was nothing. I resumed staring at the toes of my shoes. Time crawled by. In the span of about 3 hours, a few trains came and went. Every time I heard one, I rose slightly from my seat to peer through the glass door into the darkness of the raging snowstorm. Tired faces floated through the ticket gates and the waiting room and disappeared outside on their journey home. My head stayed lifted for a little while even after all the passengers had left. Finally convinced that Takagi hadn't been amongst them, I would settle back on the bench and hunch up again. That happened a number of times. Yeah, we're gonna get this perspective in the movie. In the movie, Takagi was having a hard time getting to Akari, while Akari was just waiting there. I was like, man, Akari had it lucky because she could just wait there. But I totally forgot about the amount of stress she felt of waiting for someone that might not come. Might or might not come. Hey, hopefully you're feeling comfy. I'll be nice to you. I had never imagined that snow could suspend train service in my year in Amafune. I hadn't experienced anything like that. Not personally though, perhaps I had been lucky. So I was honestly shocked that my emotions weren't catching up to the situation. Snow had fallen and halted the trains. Logically, I understood this, but I couldn't believe it was actually happening. Takagi couldn't come closer to me because of a snowstorm. Come on, Mofu. I'm gonna be nice. Look, I'm reading. I'm so relaxed and chilled. You know? Mofu, I'm glad that you're relaxed. Do be comfy. He was trapped inside a train stopped by the snow. My heart ached just picturing it. Snow fell at how many centimeters per second again? I couldn't remember. No doubt, I would have been able to do it the day before, but most of my brain had completely shut down. The outside world was dark and pure white, and droplets of water clouded the windows. The fluorescent light on the ceiling must have been old because it was just a little dim. A station waiting area that was like a square box, it felt like nothing else existed beside the world inside it. And somewhere beyond the nothingness floated a long, narrow box that held Takagi. It only takes 3 hours to get from Tokyo to Tochigi by train. And I had thought that was far. More than 6 hours had passed since he had begun his journey. It was as if the distance had doubled. No, they had more than doubled. Right, this is what far means, I muttered to myself. Yet our distance now was nothing. He was about to move even farther away. I didn't know how to put my anguish into words. I was really, very seriously anxious. smacking money, Luffy. Why are you doing all that stuff? Are you gonna start a new road? No, you're good, Mofu. I'll forgive you anytime. I would forgive you 8 days a week. 366 days of the year. Mofu, I'll always forgive you. And hey, Mofu, we're doing well. You see hands? Yeah, we're reading 5 centimeters per second here. Hope your streams have been doing well, Yamo. Time only made up of the fizzing of the wash tub on the stove slowly crawled by. Takagi isn't coming. Takagi isn't coming. I'm here alone, and soon he'll go even farther away. Something came rushing up from the bottom of my stomach. I clutched my fingers and clamped my mouth shut. It felt as if a hand had reached into me to churn around my insides. There was an uncomfortable feeling in the back of my throat, and I almost threw up. Yo, Move, I'm so zen right now. If smacking you will make you feel better, go for it. At that moment, I had an epiphany that ran through me like an electric current. This is how he felt. This is how Takagi felt when he heard I was moving to Tochigi. Right, I got it. The absurdity, the confusion, a sinking, consuming frustration, anxiety in its wake. I finally understood. He, too, had felt miserable, lonely, and anxious. Why hadn't I noticed when it was so obvious? To me, Takagi was always kind, reliable, unwavering, someone I could count on to make me feel at ease. I must have simply assumed that he was okay. I was filled with regret. That final year, right after our phone conversation, why hadn't I told him that I wanted to be with him more than anything, and that not a day went by where that wasn't true? I felt that way from the bottom of my heart, so why hadn't I come out and said so? If I had, I might have been spared this agony. How could I blissfully tell him this is goodbye on graduation day when he probably feared that I was going away for good? 5 centimeters per second, what a happy-go-lucky, laid-back and blissful notion. During our phone conversation, what had I been trying to get him to say? Maybe I wanted to tell me I was going to be okay. Not even realizing how he must have felt had I been a hopeless baby. I thought I heard a train arriving over the sound of wind. I looked up. My eyes were glued to the ticket gates. I heard footsteps, I saw shadows, the glass door opened, and people came through. An unfamiliar couple walking arm in arm. They were the only ones who had gotten off the train. I lowered my head almost as if I were embarrassed and desperate to make myself scarce. My head was still hung when the couple passed me and exited the building. Once the frigid blast from the glass door was cut off again, I let out a small sigh, then suddenly seized by an ominous thought. I tapped on the ticket window. Every train will eventually reach its destination, the attendant said. Of the suspensions, it's conceivable to get stuck at a transferring station. He called the terminal to check for me. They weren't certain, but it looked like the suspensions in service began a bit after Takagi had left Oyama Station. Which meant he must have hit a stop signal somewhere on the Ryomo line. In the middle of nowhere, right? I didn't know. Maybe Takagi had tried to call my house from a station public phone to tell me that the trains were running late. I considered calling my parents, then rejected the idea. No way. I don't want anyone else to get involved. I didn't want to suffer more outside noise or trivial words. I would wait. Was Takagi coming or not? Yo. That line kind of reminds me. Like when you're like kind of possessive or like really like someone, and you don't want to invite anyone to like ruin your alone time, you try like sneak that in, right? Like let's say like, what was it? Me and Trash was like, alright, let's play Apex. I was like, yeah, we can get someone else for trios, like Mofu. I was like, I don't think Mofu would want. I think Mofu was busy. I don't think Mofu would want to play. And I like kind of try to sneak that in just so that me and Trashman can play alone. I don't generally think Mofu is busy. I just sneak that in so I can it can just be me and Trashman, something like that. I totally see myself doing this. I'm that sly, disgusting snake. Sorry guys. I'll do anything to get what I want. I'd rather ship you two anyways. Okay, Mofu, you are not getting smacked. Interesting observation, Mofu, but don't worry. Trashman has other ideas. Not saying he's in a relationship. I mean, he might be. I don't know. But I got no chance with Trashman, by the way. I have 0 chance with Trashman. Not like I want to be with Trashman. What the heck? Alright. Waiting. I felt like time had stopped. My head was heavy with fatigue. Waiting for something uncertain and sensing the continuous passage of time numbed my nerves. I was spacing out. My brain was so numb that it almost felt good. The delayed train, the train that wouldn't come. Somewhere in all of this I felt calm. A train slowly approaching the end. You see what actually concerned me? Oh wait. After all, Takagi was going to say goodbye. When his train arrived, everything would end. The train was an omen of the end of everything. I didn't want the train to come. I begged for time to stop. Where did petals go after they fall to the ground? They vanished, they disappeared. They went someplace else. Yeah, actually, seriously, wait. No, there's no way Trashman would allow it. He's as straight as an arrow, and I'm as straight as an arrow too. Now, it was a badly formed arrow. No, I'm kidding. Unfortunately, we're both straight, is what I'm saying. I took some stationery on my bag. I placed the bag on my knees, put the stationery on top, and began to write a letter. It was for Takagi. Since my head was all muddled, I thought I might be able to write truly, unguardedly, paying no heed to order or structure. I put pen on paper. I wrote whatever came to mind. Well, you stopped that solo. Oh, but about that though, I'm not sure if I probably won't read it out loud when, or I mean, honestly, if Blue does read that or Trashman does read that, he might get disappointed. I don't know if he's comfortable with those kind of jokes, but I never joked around about that or and also IRL shipping. I'm not a fan of IRL shipping unless I know for sure the other person knows or doesn't mind it because we're both chill about it. It's funny. But for Trashman, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's into that kind of humor, or he can take that as a joke. You might find that uncomfortable instead. I'm not sure. But I'm just saying that just in case. So that's why when y'all were saying, "Hey, Wolfie's boyfriend," I didn't read it out loud because I wasn't sure whether he was comfortable with that. Yeah, I don't know if he's comfortable with that, but I don't want to risk it. I mean, honestly, I'll probably just talk to him off stream about it. If it keeps on coming up in chat, I'll just tell him after stream and say, "Hey, people joke about this a lot. Are you fine with it?" Platonic bestie to trash. That's not happening, Soulful. None of you are gonna be close to Trashman. I'm not letting any of you close to him. Unfortunately, Mofu will actually get to talk to Trashman if Mofu decides to get the new Borderlands. But we can maybe I can probably convince Trash and say, Mofu's in the Philippines, very, very far away from us. It'll be very laggy. I think we should find a different person. I'll probably convince Trashman like that. It would invite Fate or something. Where did Scam Hydrate go? I removed all alerts, channel points, and raids and stuff. Just for my reading streams, Aqua. Oh shoot! I hit my elbow onto the table. Not in a way that hurts though. I just hit it strangely. That's not hurting. Let me just check if I cut myself. No, I didn't. Yeah, Faye played Borderlands. No, I'm just kidding. You had very pretty hands. That's so weird to say. Are they pretty? I don't know. I'm skinny as a stick. I'm as skinny as a stick. So they're very frail and bony. and they're usually pretty cold and small. And I would call them all that besides pretty. Elegant? Oh wow, that's a nice way to put it. Sure. Alright, where were we? I'm just gonna reread from here, because I actually don't remember. Or was it? There's no way we got here, right? I think we're up here. I'll just reread this part, because I don't remember. I placed the bag on my knees, put the stationer on top, and began to write a letter. It was for Takagi. As my head was all muddled, I thought I might be able to write truly unguardedly. Paying no heed to order or structure, I put pen to paper. I wrote whatever came to mind. I was going to give him the letter when he arrived. How strange that I was writing a letter premised on his arrival when I didn't know if he would actually make it. His arrival would bring a final farewell. Once he left, we wouldn't be meeting again. Possibly for many years, perhaps not until we were adults. I wrote everything I had wanted to tell him to the best of my abilities. I love you, Takagi. I thought I could write that now, and I did. The words, I love you, didn't describe what I felt for him at all. Language was so vexing. If only I could take the feeling from my body and show them to him, this is how much I feel for you. But what was my love worth to him? I didn't even know what I was worth myself. I had curled into a crouch even as I addressed him. The skin on my arms always stood up with fear. I was as insignificant as a bug on the underside of a leaf. I knew this, and so did everyone else. I never stopped feeling that way. The love of such a person was just laughable. I also did love him, despite all that. I love you. I clung to those helpless words. I pictured Takagi stuck inside a train in the middle of a snowstorm. The damp, heavy image of falling snow began to fill my heart. It snowed. Why wouldn't it be cherry petals falling between us? The earth was round, and it was summer in the southern hemisphere. Up until then, I liked that image. But now I resented anyone who was basking in cherry petals on the other side of the world. That was how I wanted him and me to be. It was like a curse. I hope we can see the cherry blossoms together again next year. I had spoken those words without understanding a thing. Thanks to that, it was never going to come true. Takagi had been thrust into a snowstorm in his mistaken attempt to meet someone like me. I was the one who was imprisoning him in the snow. Wasn't I, unable to sense anything good about myself, just like the Snow Witch of Narnia? I was always making life hard for Takagi. I was always hurting him. Did he like her this much in the movie? Yeah, he liked her a lot in the movie Sofu, in the beginning. Or that's what it came off like. Oh, but this is the girl's perspective, this is not the guy's perspective. But the male lead did like the female lead a lot in the beginning. But then, as the long distance relationship grew and grew, I feel like that he had some kind of lingering affection, but it wasn't that strong anymore. But on the other hand, the girl, it didn't feel like the girl was that into the guy in the beginning. But now this shows otherwise. She thinks about him a lot. Oh my gosh. Succumbing to exhaustion and the stove's heat, I finally fell asleep. I had a dream. It was fragmentary. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Even when I felt a presence, I wondered if it wasn't just a fragment of my dream. What I had vaguely noticed was a navy blue sleeve of a duffel coat. I lifted my head. Above the wall of that dark blue coat was Takagi's face. It looked frozen with shock. It was thinner and had a slightly longer face than I remembered. My mind, still foggy and unable to process what was happening, transmitted emotions alone to my heart, awfully directly. For a time, I sat inert, unable to think. As Takagi stood there before me, I grabbed the hem of his coat, still gazing into his face. It was no hallucination. Tugged by me, Takagi took one small step closer. The texture of his coat. It gradually spread from my fingertips, and my face started feeling heavy. I could feel liquid rising just below the surface of my cheeks. Then it poured out with my eyes and drenched my face. I looked down, still holding onto his coat. I could see droplets dripping onto the floor. It felt like something painful was stuck in the back of my throat. I had not planned on crying, yet my body, all on its own, made my chest convulse, sent out the liquid. As I wept and clung to him, I suddenly sensed that some of the tears weren't my own. Amidst my sobbing, I was nearly struck dumb. Takagi was crying. I was shocked. The moment I noticed, my tears doubled. I didn't know I could cry so hard. Inside me, some organ, similar to the heart, was plumbing an intense emotion and pumping it across my body. Intense emotion is the only way I can describe it. Neither joy, misery, nor pain, it coursed through me and came spilling out as tears. Wanting to calm myself, I fixed my grip on his coat, swallowed my saliva, sniffled, and tried to catch my breath. The texture of his coat was unmistakable. After I calmed down a bit, it hit me that he was actually here. Takagi had come, just to meet me, just for that purpose. No problem, Sofu. I felt bashful sitting next to him again after so long. I poured tea from my thermos into its lid, handed it to Takagi, receiving it with both hands. As if to warm myself, he took a sip. "This is good," he said, with genuine feeling for someone who unusually spoke in a flat voice. "Really? It's just roasted green tea." "Roasted? This is my first time drinking it." "No way, you've definitely had it before." "You think so?" "I know so." I was glad we were talking like we always had in the past, even though the past was really just 1 year ago. Slightly offbeat, curious exchanges, right? We had been like this. Always chatting about trivial stuff. "Here you go. I can't guarantee it's any good because I made it, but have some if you like. Thanks." Takagi sounded almost overcome with emotion. I was starving. He kindly took a rice ball that I had made. Well, it was already past 11 at night. He had been trapped in a train without food for 7 hours. Yeah, bye, Iggy. Have a good sleep. Take care. Let's try to get to Plat 4 tomorrow, Iggy. Hoping he would say he liked it, I asked, "How is it?" "It's the most delicious thing I've ever tasted," he replied, terribly earnestly, casting his eyes down a little. "You're exaggerating," I bowed my knees. "It's true. You just think so because you're hungry. Is that it?" "Definitely." Tickled by our little back and forth and happy, I nearly cried again. I had one of my own rice balls. I thought about how it was like a picnic with both of us eating the same thing, and couldn't suppress a bashful giggle. After it subsided, I felt wistful. "You're moving real soon," I murmured. "Yeah, next week." "To Kagoshima?" "It's so far." "Yeah." I couldn't grasp exactly how far, but I was starting to understand what distant means. Though, Tochigi is also pretty far. Tochigi is also pretty far, Takagi said. He must have been thinking the same thing, right? "You can't even go back home tonight." He seemed startled by my comment, but I just laughed. What I was thinking, I didn't have to send him back home until the next day. Until then, I wanted to have him all do it myself. The station attendant lightly tapped on the window opposite the gates. "We'll be closing up soon. There aren't any more trains tonight." "Okay," Takagi said. I wonder how the attendant saw us. I'm not quite sure, but his voice was really friendly. I found his kindness very comforting. "There's a lot of snow out here, so please be careful," he said. "Hey, let's go," I whispered, so Takagi as if I were sharing a secret with him. Hey Kit, hope we're doing well. We're just reading 5 centimeters per second tonight. Another side, or one more side. I think I'll be streaming for 20 more minutes. I'm not sure. Or I'll be reading for 20 more minutes until we reach to page 90 and I'll end stream. However long that takes. But we did basically read 40 pages in 2 hours. It was pretty good, pretty nice. 10 pages per 20 pages per hour. Yeah, bye Kit. Thanks for dropping by. Have a great one. Wish you the best. The wind had died down. The snow was just falling from the sky. It was cold outside, but not freezing. On the seat and handlebars of the abandoned bicycles in the parking lot lay thick layers of white. We walked side by side as we exited the old wooden station building. The tiny feeling flakes only twinkled where the street lamps illuminated the darkness. Our feet made a satisfying crunching sound on the fresh snow. During the many hours I had spent at the station, it had snowed a great deal. No wonder the trains had stopped. Oh yeah, I haven't talked to Minty at all. and but thanks for the update, Aqua. I don't really. This goes for everyone. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm scared of commitment, so I always try to not think about people too much, I guess. It's kind of hard. Or like, people just come by or whatever. Like, on stream, I mean. Because when you're people, you have your own lives. This place, probably just a place, for most people, it's just a place where you just stop by, like once. Like just once or a few times in your life, and then you move on in your life. It's just a stopping point, like a one-time bus stop, and you just continue moving on with your life. And I really keep that thought on my mind, and I just, to those people, I just wish you the best. I have compassion. yeah. So I feel like if I think about each individual viewer too much, I think I'll get way too much stress. Like, oh, when will they come back? Oh man, I missed them, whatever, so on, so on, so on. I try not to think too much about my past viewers. Just that they're people who I've met. It was a pleasure having met them. That's why in my outro I always say, until next time, if not, that's fine too. It was a pleasure having met you. Bye. That's why my outro is like that. Specifically to reference the fact that there might not be a next time between me and all of you. That for some of you it might be the last time I say bye to you, basically. That's all. And that's fine. Dang, talking about that and while reading this book is so sad. it's so melancholic. Alright, let's continue reading. During the many hours I had spent at the station, it had snowed a great deal. No wonder trains had stopped. The thick blanket of snow had turned the roads pure white. The boundary between the road and the sidewalk was entirely buried, making the road appear much wider than it actually was. The three-way intersection in front of the station looked more like some plaza, even though it was almost midnight. It didn't feel dark. The street lamp shone circles of light on the snow at regular intervals. The darkness seemed to glow thanks to the reflecting white ground. It was the first time I had ever walked around in the dead of the night. After such heavy snowfall, too, it was an exceptional sight. Just like that, I started to run. That's why I also don't say. That's why I also usually say that I try my best not to miss anyone. Because if I verbally say that I miss someone, or like it's been a while I miss you, I don't want to like guilt trip you and to feel like you need to come back. I don't want to influence any of that. Just be here if you want to be. Don't be here if you can't or don't want to be. I'm not going anywhere. For a good while at least, I think. I'm not sure. I don't plan on going anywhere for a while. Alright. Sure. Basically, I always try to prepare myself that this might be my last time talking to any of you as individuals. Okay. The road between the rice paddies was totally buried under snow as well. The fields were pure white, and if not for a telephone poles. Along the way, it would have been impossible to tell where the road ended and the fields began. Far off in the darkness, a neat line of... I know this word, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Lattice towers stood up, black against a cloud sky. Traveling down the dim road in a haze of snow, Takagi and I left a set of parallel footprints. Can you see a tree over there? I asked as we walked. Is that the tree from your letter? Yeah, the cherry tree. We walked side by side along the road until we finally reached it. It was a large, sturdy tree with winding branches that stretched out in every direction. Its trunk was so thick that Takagi wouldn't have been able to wrap his arms all the way around it. Standing by its roots, we looked up at the branches and that spread across the sky. I was a bit moved. I had longed to stand under that tree with Takagi ever since moving there. The tree didn't have any leaves, of course, let alone flowers. It was completely bare. Whenever I leaned against it, cradling one of Takagi's letters, I felt like I could hear his voice. Yes, in my mind, he was like a cherry tree. The light from some distant town reflected off the cloud sky lightly fell onto the snow and encased in a frosty glow. Encased us in a frosty glow. The cherry tree wore a pure white veil. Powdery snow fell. Hey, I turned to Takagi. Doesn't it look, I said, catching a snowflake in my hand, just like snow? The wind blew, the snow danced, and there was a blizzard of flowers. I was trying to summon an illusion with my remark. The light of spring surrounding us, the twisting trunk, and branches bursting with pink clusters. These are petals. If they were indeed falling on the other side of the world, then snow was a shadow cast by them. The illusion I wove was instantly swept away by the frosty wind, and my mind returned to the dark, snowy night. I must have been smiling, though. You're right, Takagi said softly with a gentle look. His reaction caught me off guard. I could have sworn he'd reply with a question. The pit of my stomach tightened at his straightforward answer. That tightness took hold of me, and I stepped closer to him. I was gazing into his eyes, he was gazing into mine. As if it were the most natural thing, though, maybe a bit faster than 5 centimeters per second, we leaned towards each other. I closed my eyes midway, then I felt his lips against mine. At that moment, I couldn't think about anything. My consciousness was someplace else. It burned white as if it weren't my own. Instantaneous flashes ran through me like lightning. Dozens of images were burned into those flashes and vanished faster than I could perceive them. Sharp arrows, or what felt that way, rained down on me, cleansed my deepest impurities, and disappeared. When I was stripped off of the excesses that had clung to me, the world vanished, and I was all that remained. The writing of this is so beautiful. I couldn't tell the difference between myself and the fragmented images flooding my head. For a few moments I was Takagi. I grew excited, soared, and descended. I couldn't tell up from down. I was one pair of lips, as well as the other. There was no distinction between them. I had discovered where abstract concepts like the heart, the soul, and eternity reside. I learned that Takagi and I were one, that we were two, and that we could take different parts of each other and lock them safely in ourselves. The colors, heat, texture, and darkness that I felt then couldn't be put into words. It felt as if I had shared everything for my 13 years with him, and I knew that Takagi thought the same. This is for someone from junior high school, by the way. Oh my gosh, this description of your love is insane. We were one flawless existence. For just a single moment, we understood each other perfectly. Our individual selves disappeared and gave way to omnipotence. Complete fulfillment existed. For a moment, the moment almost lasted an eternity and nearly sucked me into its distortion. We were aware it was a miracle. Timings and circumstances miraculously lining up, the moments had visited us. The instant after we realized this, I returned to just being me again, and felt his lips against mine. The sorrow that overlooked me was unbearable. That's the word that I actually did. I just saute. Sofu. I don't believe they actually dated Sofu. It is their first time kissing, I guess, but they never verbally said like I love you to each other. And in the movie, this is where they separate. But I know how it sounds. I know that sounds grand and all, but this is the same. This should be the same chapter where they not even break up. We're like, our friendship gone. I'm pretty sure, at least, if I remember correctly. And Soulful, gosh darn it. Are we gonna talk about that thing later? Yeah, we can. Yeah. I'll message you about it. I think I'm still going. I was saying the keyboard I was looking at because it was mentioned being quiet, and it sounded when I listened to the video, it just sounds quiet than the other mechanical keyboards I looked at. But you know. It might also just be a me thing. I'll send you. Yeah. I sensed his body heat. I no longer knew how to wait. Where were we again? I think we're here. I returned to just being me again, and felt his lips against mine. The sorrow that overtook me was unbearable. Oh wait, no, we were there. I sensed his body heat. I no longer knew how to handle it or where to take it. I was left with a feeling like regret of having known until just now. The conviction that I would never know it again crept in through my fingertips and my hands went limp. I saw that life, impossibly large, lay before us, and that, in its vague span of time, that perfect moment would never arrive again. It became all too clear to me that we could never be together. We had reached the finish line, and there was nowhere left to go. Yeah, I'll try to remember to message you the keyboard I looked at. I mean, I already bought it, or ordered it, but I can cancel like within like 2 days and tomorrow, I think. Why this suddenly? It was lonely and heartbreaking, and it hurt. I had hoped for something more gradual and natural, like the speed of a falling cherry blossom. This was how we always ended up. A dooming miracle was what I had wished for. I'm restored. What should I do? What should I do? The words whirled in my head, confused, driven by the echoes of lost fulfillment. I threw my arms around Takagi's neck in despair. I pressed my cheek against his shoulder. Over my warm winter clothes with my entire body, I tried to feel all that was good and beautiful in him. Embracing him tightly, I stood still for a while. His body heat dissolved my confusion and anxiety at long last, and thankfully all that remained were joy and innocence. A clump of snow thudded down from a branch. From between the bogs covering the sky, the snow fell ceaselessly. He wrapped his arm around my back, and their strength was just intoxicating. Oh, is that sulfate? Yeah, sure. Does that work for membrane keyboards? Like you can also switch switches on a membrane keyboard? A tool shed sat in one corner of the field, and there we talked all night. We took off our coat, joined hands, and held each other, bundled in an old blanket we had found on a wooden shelf. The entire time, I could feel his body heat. We talked about all sorts of things, for just a brief while during that long night. I fantasized about time stopping and everything staying just as it was. I wish he could whisk me away like he had that day at school. Maybe, we'll talk about it. I knew it was impossible. Not just because we were still kids. When our lips had touched, he, too, sensed what I did. I didn't just believe it, I knew it. We didn't breathe a single word about that moment the entire night. That flawless moment, an indescribable moment that would never come again. We didn't try to confirm that moment by describing it in words. We could never be together after that. Even without any transfers or moves, even if we could attend the same school, we just couldn't be together. In fact, being close would only remind us of what we had lost and torment us. If I could foresee this, I still wish that time would stop. Takagi had come to see me, that made me feel warm all over. He had come just to see someone like me, and here he was. It feels nice to rest my cheek against his lean shoulder. Sinking into the dark, we didn't dream. The next morning, I saw Takagi off at the station, where he would take the earliest train back to Tokyo. And also, here goes Sofu. It stays here. We could never be together after that. They never got together, so technically they didn't break up, but yeah, they never got together because they knew it was not possible. But both of them wanted to. Oh, hey Aki. This beautiful story. It's kind of sad right now. Hopefully it has a beautiful ending, but I don't think the ending's gonna be. It depends. The manga ending had some closure. The movie's ending was pretty bittersweet. Was more bitter than sweet, but still bittersweet. I don't know. Probably was kind of bitter. Yeah, the writing is very beautiful. All right, Fade. I'll send you it, and we'll see. Yeah, and thank you for being here, Aki. We made the first footprints in the untouched snow on the platform. We held hands as we waited for his train. Even with no one else around, we stood at the front end, as far away from the station building as possible. The train arrived all too quickly. Yeah, the ending of the movie was just Takagi was the male lead seeing the girl again when they got older, but but they took a look at each other. It was actually very beautiful. If you remember in the beginning, the girl ran around, and ran away from Takagi, and Takagi was trying to chase after her, right? Let's see if I can find that specific moment. Yeah, it was the train scene. Where the train was moving, and the girl was getting super anxious whether if the train stops, well, Takagi will still be on the other side, as they're standing on opposite ends of the train tracks. Do you remember that, Sofu? Oh, yeah, it's right here. Yeah, how it go, Anaki? It's right here. All right. The signal started clanging across the road. Blah blah. The gate came down. You know, church that got a while back. Blah blah. The gate was somewhat turned. I could see how I standing in front of the crossing and slightly wobbled. For a moment, I felt a bit uneasy. The train rushed by with a thunderous rumble. Takagi was on the other side, but I couldn't see or hear him. What if Takagi isn't there anymore when they were blocked up by the train because they were on opposite sides of the across from each other of the train tracks? Okay, so the ending was this same scene played when they got older, but when the train finished passing by, Akari, the girl, disappeared. And then it was just Takagi left. That was the ending of the movie. It was so sad. So yeah. So even though here Akari was so stressed over whether the guy was going to be there anymore after the train, and he was. When they got older, Akari didn't have that feeling anymore and was gone. That was the ending of the movie. And maybe you can see the thought process behind her during the ending of this. Spoilers. Whoops, sorry. But you kind of need those spoilers for adding to this movie. That one made me cry. It was sad. It was sad. But wouldn't that make you happy though? Because you don't want them to get together, right? Takagi boarded a train, quickly turned to me. We looked at each other across the open doors. Takagi. My hand hovered over the bag I was clutching to my chest. I was thinking about the letter I written at the station the day before. I had written to give Takagi, to tell him all the things I never could. As I fished out the envelope and handed it to him, my hand stopped halfway. Alright, that letter? Oh wait, this letter that Akari wants to give Takagi, the letter that she wrote to almost tell him her feelings about him and how much he meant to her. As you can see here, she doesn't give it to her. She doesn't give it to him. In the movie, we didn't know this because it wasn't through her perspective, it was through the guy's perspective. So we didn't know that she had a letter for us, I believe. If I remember correctly. I might be wrong. But in the movie, Takagi also had a letter for Akari. But because he was walking in the snowstorm that happened, as mentioned in the book, because he was walking through the snowstorm, he ended up losing the letter because the wind blew out of his pocket or whatever, and he lost the letter during the snowstorm. So And it was a very similar letter too, to confess his feelings, and he also couldn't give her the letter. So they both couldn't give each other their letters and their feelings. But but we don't know that in the book because we're not looking at his perspective, which happened in the movie. Oh, God dang it, Sosu. During our kiss? Well, I can only call the experience that took place in me during it. In light of that moment, I felt like my letter was inadequate. Its words said nothing and would only devalue the miracle. Hey Sarah, we're just reading 5 centimeters per second. We're almost done though, or as in I'm almost done reading for the night. Just 2.5 more pages, or 2 more pages. But hey, hope we're doing well. Language was just noise compared to the experience's pureness. The intense emotion of that moment outstripped what I had written in my letter, which was fated to become a degraded record. The moment can never be put into words. That moment, the words "I love you" seemed practically hollow. My chest tightened at the thought of him. I longed to be with him so badly I could die, while the words "I love you" didn't even sound real. I'm sorry, Sarah. Still, there was one thing I knew I had to say to him no matter what. The moment I tried, I nearly started crying, raising my face as though buoyed by my overflowing feelings. I declared, "You're going to be okay from now on, Takagi. I just know it." That was the only thing I absolutely need to say. The words I wanted to hear from someone. I spoke them to my other self, who stood there, and to myself. Thanks to Takagi visiting me despite the snow, there had been a change in me. I don't know how best to describe it, but it was a definite transformation. Seeing Takagi's face that night at the station had cleared away my constant, cowering fear of life. According to the vocabulary of the grown-up I am today, I had been blessed. Takagi had come to bless me, and I wanted to do the same for him. Having the strength to tell people they're going to be okay, that really is important. Or so I believe. Long afterwards, as an adult, a whistle sounded at quite a distance, and with a compressing whoosh, the door began to shut. "Thank you," Takagi said, at almost the same moment that they did. The train started to glide out of the station. Bringing his face close to the doors, he called out, "Take care, Akari." He pressed his hands against the glass. "I'll write letters and call," he shouted. Our positions were no longer in sync. He seemed to get smaller and smaller as the train steadily accelerated. A whistle tore the air again, and a bird flapped its wings and took off from some branch. In no time at all, the train had gained speed and vanished. I felt a sudden pang of loss. Motionless, I stared into the direction that the train had gone. A railway signal flashed red. I looked up to the final wisp of low clouds floating in the blue morning sky. Fresh snow unspoiled by footprints coated the front end of the platform. All of it seemed like a scenic description meant to indicate that Takagi was gone. However, I stood there confident that I could take on life. No matter how far he went, he was with me. He, at least, will always understand me perfectly. I have such a person. That thought alone was reassuring, and I could make it, even if I was on my own there. Oh, what to do with me? While I felt a deep sense of loss, I was strangely fulfilled. So I told myself, we'll meet again someday, though it won't be soon, and I'll try to be a stronger person by then. But we would never meet again.